Do you dare pull the trigger, coward? Even with that homemade gun pressed to my forehead, I didn't even blink. Reborn back to 1976. I was in the middle of selling my own sister-in-law to two old bachelors to pay off a gambling debt. In my previous life, my wife hanged herself because of this, taking 2 lives with 1 corpse, and I regretted it for the rest of my life. But not in this life. I snatched the gun, kicked them down, and carried the gun home. And the moment I kicked open the door, my wife was just slipping her neck into the noose. When I lifted her down, she was trembling all over, shielding her head and saying, "Don't hit me." My heart felt like it was being crushed to pieces. Wife, just wait. In this life, I'm going to give you such a good life that the whole village will be green with envy. I groggily opened my eyes, and by my ears came wave after wave of sobbing pleas. Brother-in-law, don't do this. I'm still a virgin. Please, let me go. My sister will go crazy, she'll die, boo-hoo. My vision gradually focused, and a pale, delicate little face appeared before me. It was my sister-in-law, Su Qinglian. She was about 1.6 meters tall, skinny as a bamboo pole, dressed in thin, ragged clothes, looking at me with tearful eyes. Beside her stood 2 strange men, one old and one young, sizing her up and commenting on her. This girl's really pretty, and her hips are wide too. She'll definitely bear sons. She's a bit skinny, but that won't stop her from working in the fields. With a little training, she'll be quite capable too. 50 yuan, that's a bargain. 50 yuan? Selling my sister-in-law? My head buzzed, and a flood of memories surged up. In my previous life, I, Li Changhai, was a complete bastard. I smoked, drank, and gambled, and whenever I lost money, I took it out on my wife. In the end, I even sank lower than a beast and sold my sister-in-law for 50 yuan. By the time I got home, my wife Su Qinghua had already hanged herself from the roof beam, carrying my 3-month-old child in her womb. That was the day I finally woke up, but the dead cannot come back to life. In a daze, I walked out of the mountains and started out as a security guard in Shangjing. Catching the tide of reform and opening up, I worked my way up step by step and became a big boss. I had money, but there wasn't a single person by my side. I never remarried my whole life, nor did I leave any descendants. In the end, I died alone in a hospital room. Before I died, my only wish was that if I could do it all over again, I'd risk this life of mine to repay her double what I owed her. And now, heaven really has given me another chance. What time is it now? I grabbed the man beside me by the collar and roared with bulging eyes. October 8th, 1976, cold dew. Buddy, are you still half asleep? Sure enough, it was this very day, the day I sold my sister-in-law and drove my wife to her death. I'm not selling her anymore. Get out. I yanked Su Qinglian behind me. You think you can toy with us? The middle-aged man panicked. At last night's card game, 5 10-yuan notes were already counted out to the winner. And now you're going back on your word? The tall young man pulled a knife from his chest and viciously lunged at me. You're asking to die? I didn't even blink. I turned sideways, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. Crack. The knife fell to the ground. I drove my knee into his stomach, and the brat let out a muffled grunt, curling up on the ground like a shrimp. Don't move. The middle-aged man pulled out a homemade gun, its dark muzzle pressed against my forehead. Hand her over, or I'll blow you away. Looking at the muzzle, I suddenly laughed. I lived for decades in my previous life. What kind of scene haven't I seen? And you dare use this homemade piece of junk to scare people? Go on, shoot. I stared at him, enunciating every word. What did you say? You're not afraid of death? Whether I'm afraid of death doesn't matter. I'm just asking you, do you dare? You coward. If you've got the guts, shoot me dead. If not, get the hell out of here. I really dare to pull the trigger. Don't think I'm joking with you. Then do it. Are you even a real man? Do you dare do what a real man does? Don't push me. I'm pushing you, coward. I had provoked him so much that his whole body was trembling, his eyes bloodshot, and his finger unconsciously pulled the trigger. I was ready for it and grabbed the barrel, yanking it sharply to the side. With a bang, the gun went off right by my ear, leaving it ringing. Before he could react, I kicked him hard in the stomach, sending him flying 3 meters away, and snatched the gun into my hand. I dug at my ear, still throbbing from the blast, tucked the knife into my waist, and hoisted the homemade gun as I looked at the 2 men sprawled on the ground like dead dogs. 2 cowards, and you still dare traffic people? Come back in a month to get 50 yuan. Now get the hell out. The young man climbed up and helped the middle-aged man hobble outside. As he turned back, he hurled a threat. Just you wait. This isn't over. Only after they had gone far away did Su Qinglian dare raise her head to look at me, her body still trembling. Brother-in-law. Why you're not selling me anymore? Looking at her face filled with fear, I felt awful inside. Ever since this girl's parents died and she came to live with my family, she hadn't had a single good day. Every few days, I'd beat her sister. Drunk, I'd beat her. After losing money, I'd beat her even more. The last few times, I'd wanted to sell her for drinking money, and it was only because her sister fought with her life that she stopped me. This time, I beat her sister so badly she couldn't get out of bed, then dragged her out by force. She was afraid of me, and rightly so. Little sister, go home first. I'll walk slowly. I had no time to explain, so after dropping those words, I turned and ran. In my previous life, after I sold her and got home, the door was left ajar. When I pushed it open, Su Qingyue was hanging from the roof beam, her body already cold. Later, old Lu told me she had been 3 months pregnant, 2 lives lost in one corpse. At that moment, I went mad, truly mad, smashing my head against the wall, wishing I could hang myself too. But the dead don't come back to life. Staying alive was more painful than dying. In this life, heaven has shown mercy and let me come back. If I let this tragedy happen again, then I, Li Changhai, am not human. I ran home like my life depended on it, only hating that my parents hadn't given me 2 more legs. On the way, I ran into one of the gambling buddies I usually played cards with. The fool grinned and stopped me. "Changhai, coming to my place tonight? Move, I've got something urgent." "You already sold your sister-in-law. What urgent business could you have?" The fool chuckled. "If you lose again tonight, how about losing your wife to me? I'll definitely treat her well. Make her feel so good she'll forget you that very night." My eyes went red, and I smashed a punch into his face. I put my full strength into that punch, making blood spurt from his nose as he staggered back several steps. I pressed the muzzle against his forehead, my voice cold as ice shards. "You filthy bastard, if you dare keep talking shit, believe me, I'll blow you away right now." Faced with the black muzzle, the fool was so scared a few drops of piss squeezed out. Forcing a smile, he hurriedly waved his hands. "Bro, I was just kidding. We're all buddies here. Why get so worked up? If you run your mouth again next time, I'll tear your mouth off." I threw out those words and turned to keep sprinting. The moment I kicked open the front door, my heart nearly leaped out of my throat. Up on the roof beam, the rope had already been hung. Su Qingyue was standing on a stool, having just put her head into the noose. When I rushed in, she happened to kick the stool away, and her body dropped downward. Like a madman, I lunged forward and grabbed her legs, lifting them up, while my other hand went to untie the noose. She struggled desperately. Her tears fell onto my hand, burning hot. Honey, what are you doing?" I pulled her down and held her tightly in my arms, my voice trembling. She curled up into a ball in my arms, her whole body shaking uncontrollably, instinctively shielding her head, muttering nonstop, "Don't hit me. I know I was wrong. Don't hit me." I looked at her face, mottled with bruises, and there was dried blood crusted at the corner of her mouth. I rolled up her sleeves, and her arms were covered in overlapping old and new wounds. I did all that. It was me, this beast, who beat her. Tears started pouring down at once. "Honey, I'm sorry. I was wrong, truly wrong." I held her tightly, crying like a child. "I'm not human. I'm a beast. I'll never hit you again. From now on I'll treat you well, treat you twice as well. Just trust me one time, just this once, okay?" In my arms, her eyes were as hollow as a dried-up well, and a faint, bitter smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. She had heard words like that countless times before. Every time after I got drunk and beat her, I'd wake up the next day, kneel in front of her in repentance, and swear up and down that I would change. But when had I ever changed? I'd turn around and go right back to drinking, gambling, and taking it out on her. "You sold my little sister, and now you've come back pretending to be a good man?" Tears streamed down her face. "Am I not even allowed to die? You won't even let me die? I brought your little sister back. I didn't sell her." I hurried to explain. "Your little sister is my own little sister too. From now on, I'll protect both of you. Let's live properly together, okay?" She looked at me, her eyes full of distrust. I knew clearly in my heart that trust, once shattered, is shattered. It can't be mended with just a few words. But I wasn't in a hurry. I had plenty of time, a whole lifetime to make her trust me again. Just then, Su Qinglian came back too, and when she saw the rope hanging from the beam, she understood everything. She rushed over and hugged her sister, crying together in a heap. Only then did Su Qingyue stare blankly at me, as if meeting me for the first time, her eyes filled with confusion, wariness, and a trace of expectation so faint that even she herself hadn't noticed it, weak to the point of nearly being invisible. I touched my stomach, got the 2 sisters settled, then turned and went into the kitchen. I lifted the rice jar lid. At the bottom, there was only a tiny handful of corn grits left, at most 100 grams. Even that was part of the 5 gene of grain Su Qinghue had borrowed from second sister's house only after suffering a vicious beating from me. As for the rest, I'd long since taken it to the gambling table to pay off my debts. My nose stung again. This family was poor as dirt, with drafts coming in from all sides, and the bedding on the Kong was so thin you could see the cotton stuffing. Even with a life like this, Su Qinghue, a pampered young lady from the city, had gritted her teeth and stayed with me for 2 years. And I still hit her, and even sold her sister. Am I even human, damn it? I poured all the corn grits into the pot and cooked a thick pot of corn mush, sticky as paste, then carried it in front of the 2 sisters. Wifey, little sister, make do with this for now, just to fill your stomachs a bit. Su Qinghue looked at that bowl of mush, trembling with anger all over. That's 3 days' worth of food for the family, and you cooked it all in one pot. Are you even going to keep this household going or not? Only then did I remember that those 100 grams of corn grits were enough for 3 days. But I couldn't worry about that right now. Seeing how skinny they were, just skin and bones, felt like knives cutting into my heart. Eat, honey. Tonight we'll have meat, and tomorrow I'll pay back the grain we owe second sister's family. I thumped my chest and promised. She said nothing through her tears, only lowering her head, and split that bowl of mush in half with her little sister, then devoured it in no time. They ate ravenously, as if they'd never had a full meal in their lives. In fact, they might really have never eaten many full meals. I only drank a little less than half a bowl, just enough to take the edge off the hunger in my stomach, then rushed into the storage room and started rummaging through boxes and cabinets. The ground traps I used as a child had been gathering dust for 7 or 8 years, but luckily they weren't completely rotten and could still do in a pinch. I stuffed the ground traps, hand hoe, and deerbone digging pick all into a burlap sack, slung the homemade shotgun and long knife confiscated from those 2 bastards over my back, called out to Su Qinghue, and headed out. In my previous life, when I was loafing around in the village, there was one time the commune held a hunting competition, and the village chief led the militia into the mountains, where they found several wild mountain ginseng plants. Because they were in a hurry and had no time to lift the ginseng, they hired a few local loafers, me included, to dig them up, paying 1 yuan for each one. I watched the whole process and remembered the location clearly. Later, it was those 5 yuan that finally let me save up enough travel money to leave the mountains. Southwest of Nata Mountain lay a vast mountain range stretching for thousands of miles, treasures everywhere. But the villagers had never traveled far in their lives. Guarding a treasure mountain, they still lived in poverty, each one sallow and emaciated from hunger. After walking in the mountains for 3 hours, close to noon, I found that coniferous forest from my memory. Towering trees blocked out the sun, and a stream more than a meter wide flowed gently beside it. In October, crayfish and frogs are at their fattest. I dug out 40 or 50 Marian worms, fat and plump, section after section, the favorite food of crayfish and frogs. I divided them among 3 ground traps and lowered them into the darkest corners of the stream. Only then did I pick up the ginseng searching stick and start looking for ginseng. Searching for ginseng is delicate work. I bent over and slowly pushed aside the grass and fallen leaves. My eyes wide open. Sunlight filtered through the pine needles, scattering mottled patches of light. My stomach growled with hunger, so I ran to the stream, scooped up a few mouthfuls of water, gulped them down, and kept searching. After searching for more than an hour, a cluster of kidney-shaped red berries finally caught my eye. Found it. 4 whorls of leaves. I squatted down and examined it carefully. 4 layers of leaves on the main stem, with 4 prongs on each layer, 8 prongs in total. It had to be at least 50 years old. This thing was worth a hell of a lot of money. At the purchasing station of the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, it could fetch at least several hundred yuan. On Nata Mountain in 1976, this was practically a lump of gold fallen from the sky. I took several deep breaths to calm myself down, took out the hand hoe to clear away the weeds around it, then pulled out the deerbone digging pick and began digging carefully 30 centimeters away from the ginseng stalk. Lifting ginseng is painstaking work. You have to brush the soil away bit by bit, and when you come across the rootlets, you have to be extremely careful. Even if just one rootlet breaks, the price drops. I stuck my butt up and lay prone on the ground, digging for a full 5 hours. The sun had already started slanting west before I finally lifted out the whole ginseng root intact. Holding it in my palm, I saw that the main root was full and solid, its skin yellow-brown and glossy, covered in fine, dense lines. The rootlets were long and tough, and the pearl bumps were round and prominent. Bringing it close for a sniff, the rich ginseng fragrance rushed into my nose, refreshing the mind. I soaked some moss and wrapped the ginseng in it, then wrapped a layer of fresh birch bark around the outside and carefully tucked it into my clothes. With this thing, I'd have my first pot of gold. My stomach started growling again, so I ran to the stream to collect the ground traps. When I pulled them up, good lord, the 3 traps were packed solid with crayfish and frogs. At a rough count, there were more than 70 crayfish and more than 30 frogs, each one fat and big. Take them back and stew up a pot, and that would be a heavenly delicacy. After packing everything up, seeing that the sun was about to set, I hurried down the mountain. Halfway down, I suddenly heard a burst of clucking calls. I stopped, hunched over, and crept toward the sound. A big, plump female pheasant was crouching in the grass, easily weighing over 3 gene, just about to slip into its nest. These things are extremely wary. At the slightest disturbance, they'll vanish without a trace. Running into it, returning to its nest was like striking the jackpot. My homemade shotgun still had 2 rounds left. At a distance of 5 meters, with iron shot shells, I was confident I could kill it with 1 shot. I held my breath and slowly raised the muzzle, aiming at that grayish-brown shape in the grass, then steadily pulled the trigger. Bang! The gunshot exploded through the mountain forest, sending birds and beasts scattering. I rushed over in a few quick strides and pushed aside the grass to look. The hen was lying on the ground, killed with a single shot. I picked it up and weighed it in my hand. Just under 3 gene, nice and heavy. Perfect for stewing in a pot with the hashima to nourish my wife. I stuffed the pheasant into the burlap sack as well, slung it over my shoulder, and strode home. By the time I got back to the village, it was already completely dark. From a distance, I saw there was no light in the house, and my heart tightened. Only when I got closer did I hear my little sister's scream coming from inside, along with a woman's yelling and cursing. I pushed the door open and saw my eldest sister-in-law, Zhou Wenlan, blocking the room with her lame nephew from her maiden family. The cripple was tugging on Su Qinglian's arm, dragging her toward the room. Su Qinglian was so frightened her face had gone white, struggling desperately. Zhou Wenlan was blocking Su Qingyue, who had been shoved to the ground by her, and was clutching her stomach, her face pale as paper. Third brother's wife, my eldest nephew, is the only son of the Zhou family line. Him taking a liking to Qinglian is her good fortune. Zhou Wenlan jutted out her lips and spoke as if she were fully justified. I've already brought the betrothal gifts, 2 liang of meat, and 1 gene of bean flour. They'll consummate the marriage tonight, and tomorrow he'll take her straight home to live with him, saving us the trouble of holding any wedding. I felt a surge of blood rush straight to my head. I stepped forward and slapped Zhou Wenlan across the face. I put my whole arm into it, and the force made her spin in place twice before she dropped onto the ground on her backside, covering her face in a daze for a long while. I ignored her and charged into the room, grabbing the cripple by the back of the neck and yanking him out violently. A full-grown man weighing 150 to 160 gene was flung straight out the door by me. The cripple crashed into the yard, got up, grabbed a brick, and came howling as he hurled it at me. I swung the homemade shotgun backhanded, smashing the stock hard into the wrist holding the brick. There was a sharp crack, the brick flew out of his hand, and the sound of bone breaking was clearly audible. I didn't stop. I brought the gunstock down several more times in a row, beating his face bloody as he screamed again and again. This coward didn't even care about his aunt anymore. He scrambled up and limped away out the door, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Brother-in-law, she pushed my sister down. She even let that man bully me. Su Qinglian pointed at Zhou Wenlan through her tears. Only then did Zhou Wenlan come to her senses, clutching her swollen half-face and screaming. "You crazy bitch!" She obviously fell on her own. What does that have to do with me? I had no time to argue with her. Looking down, I saw a small dark red patch spreading beneath Su Qingyue, and my heart suddenly clenched. Zhou Wenlan, just you wait. This isn't over. After throwing out those words, I picked Su Qingyue up and ran toward old Lu's house at the head of the village. The woman in my arms was as light as a bundle of dry firewood. Her eyes were tightly shut, and cold sweat streamed down from the corners of her forehead. And she was still weakly murmuring, little sister, little sister." As I ran, I shouted her name. "Qingyue, don't fall asleep. Hold on for me. We're almost there. Hold on." I kicked open old Lu's front door. The whole family was gathered around the table eating. Old Lu was clutching half a piece of cornbread in his hand, and when he saw me rush and carrying an unconscious woman, he was startled. "Sir, save her. My wife is over 3 months pregnant. She fell, and she's bleeding down there." Old Lu was still hesitating, talking about his rule of not treating patients after 7 in the evening. I was sweating with anxiety and slammed my fist onto the dining table. With a crack, a split opened across the tabletop, and the plates and bowls and chopsticks clattered wildly. Rules are dead, people are alive. A life is at stake, so please stop hesitating. I roared with red eyes. I, Li Changhai, owe you my life. Whatever it costs, I'll pay you back double within 3 days. He was frightened by me and quickly told us to put her on the bed, then rolled up his sleeves and felt her pulse. I stood beside him watching his expression, my palms covered in sweat, my nails digging into my flesh, and I didn't even feel the pain. Su Qinglian quietly asked from the side if she should heat some water, but I silenced her with a glare, and she didn't dare make another sound. After several minutes passed, old Lu let out a sigh of relief and lowered his hand. This girl has a decent constitution. Although there's been some bleeding, it's only a mild case of fetal unrest. I'll give her a few needles first, then prescribe 10 doses of medicine, 1 dose a day. And with 7 days of bed rest, she'll be able to get up, and in 10 days, she should be mostly fine. Only then did my heart finally settle, and my legs even felt a little weak. As he took out the silver needles, he added, however, her body is severely depleted. Has she not had a full meal in 2 years? And with all those injuries on her body, she absolutely must be nourished properly. It'd be best to stew some chicken soup, let her eat more meat, and restore her vitality, otherwise the child may not be saved. I nodded again and again, engraving every word in my heart. After the acupuncture, old Lu wrapped up 10 packets of Chinese medicine and handed them to Su Qinglian, then said that if the medicine could be supplemented with some ginseng whiskers, even just one thin ginseng whisker, the effect would be much better, but unfortunately he didn't have any here. My heart stirred, and I subconsciously touched the wild ginseng at my chest. This was heaven's gift of greeting for my wife and child. Carrying Su Qinghua back home, I gently laid her on the Kong. She was still unconscious, but her breathing was much steadier, and there was also a trace of color in her face. I tucked in her blanket and looked at her peaceful sleeping face, and an indescribable feeling welled up in my heart. What I owed you in my previous life, I'll repay with my life in this one. Su Qinglian stood in the doorway, looking at me timidly like a frightened little rabbit. I beckoned to her. Don't be afraid. From now on, no one will be able to bully you again. I turned around and pulled that fat, oversized wild pheasant out of the sack, weighed it in my hand, and called out to my still-dazed sister-in-law. Little sister, go boil a big pot of hot water right away. Half for cleaning up your sister, and half for me to stew a chicken so we can eat tonight. After returning home, Li Changhai had just laid Su Qinghua on the bed when he started giving instructions while pulling a wild pheasant out of the sack. In that instant, the Su sisters were completely stunned. Su Qinglian even cried out involuntarily, "What a fat chicken! Brother-in-law, did you?" Living off the mountain by the mountain, there were hunters in the village too, but they couldn't catch something every day either, only enjoy some meat once in a while. But Li Changhai had gone out for just 1 day and brought back such a fat wild chicken. If you said he caught it himself, a good-for-nothing loafer who spent all day idling around and being lazy, they had never heard before that he knew how to hunt. Could he have snatched it from another hunter? After spending the whole day in the mountains, besides this wild chicken, there are also lots of crayfish and Hashima frogs. Tonight we're only eating the wild chicken, and tomorrow we'll eat those too. Li Changhai said casually. Hurry and boil the water. Do you still want to eat chicken or not? She glanced weakly at Li Changhai. Given how he used to be, there was no way she would actually get to eat any delicious chicken. But her older sister still needed to be cleaned up down there. So she could only take one more look at the pheasant and go grudgingly to boil some hot water. I'll finish preparing the chicken and then go decoct the medicine. After you eat, don't forget to drink the medicine before bed. Li Changhai said softly. Tomorrow I'll go to Big Brother's house. This matter won't just end like this. How did you know I was pregnant? Su Qinghua suddenly asked. Even I didn't know. I can't really explain it either. It's like I suddenly just knew. Li Changhai scratched his head, casually made up a reason, and went out. Su Qinghua was filled with fear. Could he be thinking of selling the child the moment it's born? The reason he didn't sell little sister might be so she could take care of him. When the child is born, he'll sell both mother and child together. At the thought of this, a chill rose in Su Qinghua's heart. Hell is empty, and all the devils are here on earth. How had she ended up with such a terrifying man? She suddenly felt an intense urge to leave this home, to leave Nada Mountain. Even if her class background was bad, it would still be better than staying here and being tormented to death by Li Changhai. Once her health improved a bit more, she would secretly leave with little sister. Although the house only had Sichuan peppercorns and star anise, as it simmered, the fragrance of the pheasant quickly drifted out, and Su Qinglian's stomach began to growl before she knew it. Looking at Li Changhai decocting the medicine nearby, Su Qinglian still couldn't help asking, "Brother-in-law, when the chicken is done cooking, can I have a piece of chicken?" "Of course. Your sister should eat more. The two of us can eat a little less." Li Changhai nodded. She's the top priority person to protect right now. Swallowing the drool that was about to spill out, Su Qinglian kept her eyes fixed on the stove. After stewing for a full hour, Li Changhai took 2 drumsticks and a bowl of chicken soup to Su Qinghua. "Eat while it's hot. There's more if it's not enough." After that, he served Su Qinglian 7 or 8 pieces of chicken and a bowl of chicken soup. She was so ravenous that she stuffed it straight into her mouth, even making little whimpering sounds like a kitten guarding its food. 2 years. She hadn't eaten meat in 2 years. Oh my, why is it so delicious? Eat slowly. There are plenty of good days ahead. After reminding Su Qinglian, Li Changhai then ate a few pieces of meat and drank half a small bowl of soup. There was still almost half a pot left, enough for the two of them to eat again tomorrow morning. After seeing Su Qinghua finish her medicine, he briskly washed the pot, bowls, and utensils. Guessing it was already past 10 at night, Li Changhai finally lay down on the bed. "Wife, it's getting late. Go to sleep." Su Qinghua replied coldly. "Sorry, I've made you suffer these past 2 years." Li Changhai's abrupt words gave Su Qinghua such a fright that she jolted. Books say that when a person suddenly changes completely, they must be up to something. She didn't believe a dog could stop eating shit. "I know you may not believe me just because I say so, but just watch what I do from now on." Li Changhai said seriously, "I'll definitely make sure you two live well and become the envy of all the villages around. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep first." Su Qinghua dropped those words and said nothing more. It was quite hard to change someone's opinion, especially when, in Su Qinghua's heart, he was a complete bastard. He could only slowly make her believe in him. Early the next morning, the eldest, Li Changshan, came over with Zhou Wenlan. Li Changshan had a dark look on his face and kicked Zhou Wenlan in the butt. This made Li Changhai laugh. "Big brother, if you want to beat your wife, do it at home. Why come here to put on a show? This woman only told me about it this morning, and I immediately dragged her over here." Li Changshan said through gritted teeth, "I really never expected that someone this stupid would come out of our Li family. Third brother, your sister-in-law was wrong. She just wanted to find a wife for Dego and lost her head." Zhou Wenlan hurriedly apologized. "Please forgive me, will you? My wife nearly miscarried. Do you think this can be settled with a single apology?" Li Changhai questioned coldly. The couple both shuddered. They had been married for 5 years without conceiving a child, and because of that they could hardly hold their heads up in the village. And the child in Su Qinghua's belly was the only offspring of the old Li family. Yet Zhou Wenlan had nearly caused her to lose it. This was practically a violation of the Li family's supreme taboo. Smack! Li Changshan used almost all his strength to slap Zhou Wenlan across the face, then grabbed her by the hair and dragged her home. "You idiot! You almost made our old Li family die without descendants. If I don't beat you to death today, then I'll be the one you raised. I didn't know she was pregnant. I was just afraid Dego would stay a bachelor. I know I was wrong. Please stop hitting me." Zhou Wenlan clutched at Li Changshan's hands with both of hers and looked at Li Changhai in terror. "Third brother, save me. I won't dare do it again." Li Changhai let out a sneer and stood there without moving. All morning long, the whole village could hear the screams coming from Li Changshan's house. After adding some water and stewing the chicken again, they divided the meat between the two sisters, while Li Changhai only drank some chicken soup. Afterward, he checked the frogs and crayfish and saw they were still alive, then immediately instructed Su Qinglian, "Little sister, after you finish eating, clean the frogs and crayfish. And make crayfish for your sister at noon. Why you're going out again?" Su Qinglian muttered. "To make money," Li Changhai said with great determination. "Your sister's nutrition has to keep up. We can't go on living such an impoverished life anymore." As he spoke, Li Changhai snipped 9 ginseng rootlets off the ginseng, planning to add them to the herbal medicine. There had been no lamp last night, so he couldn't see clearly and was afraid of damaging it and lowering its selling price. Although the ginseng was no longer whole now, it wasn't a big deal. It would just fetch a somewhat lower price. But could that be more important than his wife's health? After tidying up a little and tucking the ginseng into his clothes, Li Changhai gave the two of them a few more instructions before setting off. Only after Li Changhai was out of sight did Su Qinglian bring the medicine to Su Qinghua and mutter, "Sis, where do you think brother-in-law can go to make money? These days, if you don't honestly work the fields to earn work points, can you even see any cash?" Little sister, I want to leave, Su Qinghua suddenly said. Shall we run away? Huh. Su Qinglian looked at her in shock. Sis, what nonsense are you talking about? The nearest commune is more than 10 kilometers from here. In your condition, how can we go? What do you think he can do to make money? Su Qinghua said with a bitter smile. He has always believed gambling is the best path to getting rich. Over the years, he even gambled away the old Li family's heirloom. And he's definitely being set up and cheated by others. In the end, he'll gamble away the two of us, and even the child in my belly. Su Qinglian shuddered, realizing that her sister's worries made sense. It was even possible that brother-in-law suddenly changed his mind yesterday morning about not selling me, not because he had found his conscience, but because he planned to sell me several times. That way, not only would he save money, he could also snatch a few more things. Didn't he snatch a knife and a homemade shotgun yesterday? But sis, in your condition, there's no way you can even get out of bed. Su Qinglian bit her lip. Her fair little hands kept rubbing the hem of her clothes. Even if we run, we have to wait until you can get out of bed. According to old Lu's opinion, I can get out of bed in 7 days. So let's wait 7 days before we leave. Su Qinghua made up her mind. For her little sister, for the unborn child, she had to escape Li Changhai's clutches, and for that she was willing to pay any price. Nada Mountain Village was roughly 15 or 16 kilometers from the nearest commune. Although Li Changhai walked very fast, it was still nearly noon by the time he reached town. This commune was surrounded by mountains on all sides, with several rivers running through it, known as the Source of Three Rivers. The environment was very quiet, and on the street there were even some Koreans dressed in colorful, loose-fitting clothes, adding a touch of unique charm to this town. Li Changhai walked around for a bit and finally stopped in front of a jointly state-private operated pharmacy. Although this wild ginseng had lost 9 rootlets, it was still very intact overall and in excellent condition. He wondered whether this pharmacy could afford to buy it. As soon as he walked into the pharmacy, the young shop assistant merely glanced at Li Changhai before going back to his own work. Looking at his own clothes, his coarse cloth outfit was covered in patches, hardly any better than a beggar's. It was already good enough that they hadn't thrown him out. Still, Li Changhai was somewhat displeased, and his voice rose several notches. In such a big pharmacy, isn't there even anyone in charge? Why are you making such a racket? What the hell are you doing? The young assistant said impatiently. Can't you read? Didn't you see the sign at the door? This shop does not give credit. Li Changhai stared at the young assistant with a cold smile, saying nothing. The assistant was so unnerved by the stare that his temper flared up on the spot. What are you looking at? So what if I'm looking at you? Coming. Just then, a short, fat middle-aged man came trotting out from the back. Urkaway, once someone steps through our door, they're a guest. Why are you shouting? Don't you know to serve tea? Shopkeeper, look at him. Shut up. The middle-aged man shot the assistant a vicious glare, then turned to Li Changhai with a smile and gestured. Little brother, from the mountains? Li Changhai nodded without speaking. Let's talk somewhere private. A flicker crossed the middle-aged man's face, and he immediately invited Li Changhai to the back room, while calling out, Urkaway, bring a cup of the finest Eleuthero tea. After inviting Li Changhai to sit, the shopkeeper finally asked with a smile, What are you planning to sell? Li Changhai still said nothing, taking out the birch bark and presenting the wild ginseng before him. At first, the shopkeeper had seemed unremarkable, but now his eyes widened in amazement. A bowl-shaped rhizome head, all 5 features complete, carrying the aura of age. This is definitely a rare fine ginseng. But the shopkeeper's delight lasted only a moment, and he quickly returned to normal, nodding slightly as he said, This bonchuay is quite good, but unfortunately a few of the rootlets have been cut off, so its overall appearance suffers quite a bit. What a pity, such a pity. Li Changhai didn't take the bait and asked directly, Name a price. The shopkeeper smiled faintly and held up 2 fingers. Shopkeeper, this is a 50-year 4-leaf ginseng. Even if I took it to the supply and marketing cooperative, it'd fetch more than that price. Li Changhai said with a half-smile. Raise it a bit more. So you're an old hand? Hearing this, the shopkeeper nodded and said, Isn't that so? These days collectivization is being promoted, and medicinal herb trading all has to go through the supply and marketing cooperative. I'm taking a risk too by making this deal with you, brother. Let's be frank. The ginseng rootlets are broken, so the supply and marketing cooperative would probably drive the price down even harder, or might even reject it outright. That was true enough. If the supply and marketing cooperative could offer a good price, I wouldn't have risked the charge of speculation and profiteering to come to the pharmacy. However, Li Changhai still said solemnly, besides 20 10 yuan notes, I also need 10 jin of meat coupons. 10 gene of grain coupons, 20 chi of cloth coupons, and a few sugar coupons and soap coupons as well. After saying that, he stood up and slowly walked outside. If you can accept that, then we'll make the deal. If not, forget it. Hey, since this is our first time working together, I'll give a little ground, old brother. Have some tea and wait here. I'll have the clerk get things ready right away. The shopkeeper waved his hands repeatedly and walked out ahead of Li Changhai. These days, buying things requires not only money, but also coupons. There are grain coupons, cloth coupons, sugar coupons, sewing machine coupons, cigarette coupons, meat coupons, soap coupons. There are even manure coupons. For rural people like Li Changhai, grain coupons could only be earned by exchanging work points, while cloth coupons and meat coupons would almost never make it into his hands. So even if he could get money, he still couldn't do much with it. Half an hour later, Li Changhai left happily with a huge sum of money. Only then did the young clerk ask curiously, "Shopkeeper, how did you know he had valuable goods on him? Judging by the way he's dressed, he's hardly any better than a beggar." The kid had pine needles stuck to him, mud on his pant legs, a bulging chest, and his eyes kept darting toward the medicinal herbs on the counter. And he was so loud and rude too. There's an 80 or 90% chance he's someone from the mountains here to sell goods. The shopkeeper rolled his eyes at the young clerk. Have you ever seen someone neatly dressed, carrying a cloth bag, come to sell goods? So there was that much know-how in it. The young clerk suddenly understood. Good thing you came out in time, otherwise I would have started fighting with him. You haven't been here long. There are plenty of tricks to this business. The shopkeeper beamed. After looking around and seeing no one nearby, he lowered his voice and said, "Have Chai Jio and the others follow him. Once they get into the mountains, stab him and take everything back." The young clerk's pupils shrank. "Shopkeeper, that's against the law. That kid looks like a complete stranger. He's definitely selling goods for the first time. Most likely he just got lucky and came across valuable goods, a one-time deal," the shopkeeper said disdainfully. "Besides, for people coming from the deep mountains, running into bandits or wild wolves on the road is common enough. Who can guarantee nothing will happen in the mountains?" The young clerk nodded as if half understanding. "If you want to get rich, you not only need a good eye, you also need a few tricks up your sleeve." He patted the young clerk on the shoulder. "You'll go along this time too. Learn a thing or two from Chaijio. And stop being such a hot-headed fool who only knows how to fight." "Got it, shopkeeper. I'll go right away." The young clerk nodded repeatedly and jogged out. After leaving the herbal shop, Li Changhai headed straight for the supply and marketing cooperative. In the 1970s, stores were almost all state-run supply and marketing cooperatives, and basic daily necessities could all be bought there. Based on Su Qingyue's figure, Li Changhai first bought 2 new sets of clothes, then 2 bags of white sugar, a bar of soap, 29 gene of white flour, enough to completely stuff a burlap sack. But when it came time to buy meat, he ran into trouble. The main reason was that this place was too poor, with too many mouths and too little meat. The daily pork supply was limited, and it would basically be snapped up as soon as sales began. You couldn't buy any even with meat coupons. Seeing that it was noon and the supply and marketing cooperative was closing for the midday break, Li Changhai fixed his eyes on Dong Dishing, who sold meat. And as soon as he came out of the supply and marketing cooperative, he went up to him with a grin. "Big brother, off work? You again?" Dong Dishing had just seen Li Changhai in the supply and marketing cooperative and immediately said with a stern face, "Didn't I already tell you? There's no meat left. Why can't you understand that? Brother, come here. I've got something else to tell you." Li Changhai gave a series of meaningful looks and went to a corner nearby. Dong Dishing was nearly 2 meters tall and weighed a good 300 gene, and he wasn't afraid of Li Changhai at all. He followed him over right away. "What do you want?" "Brother, here's 10 gene of meat coupons. I only want 8 gene of pork." Li Changhai immediately stuffed the meat coupons into Dong Dishing's hand. "Use the remaining 2 gene to buy some meat and nourish yourself." "Brother, that's not appropriate, is it?" Dong Dishing narrowed his eyes. "What you're doing is profiteering." No, we're brothers. These 2 gene are my gift to you." As Li Changhai spoke, he couldn't help sighing. "Your sister-in-law is pregnant and took a fall last night. The doctor said she must properly build up her strength. That's why I rushed over from the mountains early this morning, but I still came too late. If I had any other choice, I wouldn't have resorted to this. You're an honest man, and you care so much for your wife. What I admire most is a man who dotes on his wife." Dong Dishing sighed. "You don't need to give me the extra meat coupons. I can only say that there is meat, but not much left. Wait nearby for me. In an hour, I'll bring you 5 gene, 3 gene of fatty meat, and 2 gene of lean meat, all right?" Yes, that's great." Li Changhai nodded repeatedly. Big brother, I don't even know what to say. I won't thank you with mere words for such a great favor. Why be so polite with me? We're buddies. Dong Dishing waved his hand and went home for lunch. Li Changhai also went to a nearby restaurant and ordered a bowl of dog meat cold noodles and one rice sausage. And he ate with great relish. But he noticed an old man in a leather coat, nearly 80 years old, squatting by the door, having begged for a bowl of plain boiled water and eating corn buns with it. So he immediately called him over and ordered him a bowl of dog meat cold noodles. Young man, I don't have any money. That bowl of noodles costs 0.4 yuan, and my child would have to earn work points for 2 days to make that much. The old man hurriedly waved his hands. This is far too valuable. Sir, we're fated to meet. Li Changhai laughed heartily. It's only a bowl of noodles, nothing special. Just eat it. Oh my, I've met a good person. The old man was so moved that tears streamed down his face. There's white flour mixed in here. I haven't had white flour myself in a whole year. It's delicious. Sir, you came all the way to the commune by yourself. Is something the matter? Li Changhai had been staring at the bow slung over the old man's back and asked warmly. I've roamed the mountains my whole life, but now I'm old and can't keep going anymore. The old man sighed. I was thinking of selling this bow, but the supply and marketing cooperative says my bow is too old and won't take it. His tone was full of the helplessness and unwillingness of a hero in old age. This bow of yours is pretty good. Of course it is. The bow body of this bow is made of jamu wood, and the bowstring is made from top-quality horsehair. Back when I made this bow, it cost me a full 3 months of painstaking effort. The old man stroked the bow, then gave a self-mocking smile. Unfortunately, they don't know quality when they see it. Jamu wood is hard and highly elastic, known as the best material for making bows. Horsehair has natural elasticity and toughness, making it suitable for bowstrings that need to withstand strong pulling force. This is a treasure. Sir, give me this bow. Li Changhai immediately picked up the thread. One great unity bill. What do you think? In his previous life, Li Changhai had been an archery enthusiast. He first got into archery at 40, and at 50, he even spent a huge sum to establish an archery club. He wouldn't dare say he could hit wherever he pointed, but he was at least a master archer who could hit the mark 9 times out of 10. He had originally planned to make one himself after returning home, since it would also be convenient to take hunting. But then he came across such a fine bow. This was absolutely a rare stroke of luck. No, that's far too much. Startled, the old man hurriedly waved his hands and said, even the supply and marketing cooperative won't take it. And you open with one great unity bill? Aren't you being foolish? Since you can appreciate this bow, then we really are kindred spirits. The old man is giving it to you, and also this bow and arrow set with 20 arrowheads made from wild boar leg bones. The old man was extremely straightforward, which instead made Li Changhai feel embarrassed. After all, he had taken a liking to the bow first, and only then treated the old man to a meal. But since the old man was being so generous, Li Changhai still forcibly stuffed the money into the old man's hand. Sir, if you don't take this money, I'll be afraid this bow won't shoot straight. Also, give me your address. If I have any questions about hunting in the future, I can ask you for advice too. Just treat it as consultation fees paid in advance. Oh my. After the meal, Dong Deshing also came over furtively holding an oil paper package and secretly tossed it into Li Changhai's sack. Brother, you absolutely must not tell anyone about this. If it's discovered, I'll be disciplined. Brother, don't worry, I'm heading back into the mountains soon anyway. Li Changhai was overjoyed and quickly promised, after a while, I'll come again and bring you some mountain goods. With that, he immediately hoisted the sack onto his back and started walking home. He had walked for 4 hours on the way here with an easy load, but this time carrying over 40 jin of stuff, it would probably be dark by the time he got home. Looks like next time he comes to the commune, he'll have to get a bicycle to ride. This really was a bit too much trouble. What he didn't notice was that after he left, 5 people immediately emerged from the shadows and looked in the direction Li Changhai had gone. The shop assistant couldn't help being a little surprised. The shopkeeper really is amazingly foresight. This kid probably lives very far from here. Otherwise, he couldn't have bought so many things all at once. Now, all this stuff is ours. A sickly young man said with a smile. Let's be clear first. The meat he bought has to be mine. Our family hasn't had a bite of meat in 5 days. My wife has already started cursing me. Don't worry, the shopkeeper only wants the money. You 4 can just split all this stuff among yourselves. The shop assistant said with a snicker. Let's hurry up and follow him. We'll make our move once we're deep in the mountains. That bastard dared to get cocky with the 2 of us in the pharmacy. Later I'll show him the price of arrogance. With that, The 5 of them immediately followed from a distance. After walking for more than an hour, they were already deep in the mountains, and the 5 followed Li Changhai's trail all the way. But when they got near here, it suddenly disappeared. The shop assistant also looked completely baffled. That little bastard. How'd his trail vanish completely? This is damn weird. The sickly man surveyed the surroundings, picked up a nearby leaf and sniffed it, then pointed in one direction. That kid went through here. But there's no path here. The shop assistant took a few steps forward, looking around as he asked, Brother Gio, could it be that this kid noticed us and ran off? Whoosh. The moment he finished speaking, the shop assistant felt something fly past one side of him. Immediately after, the sickly man gave a muffled grunt and leaped forward on one leg, almost reaching the shop assistant's side, then raised his hunting gun and fired a shot straight ahead. Bang! The gunshot carried far into the distance. Birds scattered in all directions, and even a swath of weeds and trees in front was knocked down. The shop assistant's ears were ringing from the blast, and he nearly fainted. Only then did he notice that the sickly man's thigh had actually been struck by an arrow. The penetrating power of the bow and arrow, a full 80 centimeters long, was so strong that it had pierced straight through his thigh. And only at this point did the sickly man finally feel the pain, and he couldn't help roaring, You little bastard, get the hell out here if you've got the guts to fight me one-on-one. Li Changhai, hiding in the dark, was also startled. He knew it was a good bow, but he hadn't expected it to be this powerful. At a distance of nearly 30 meters, it could still pierce through a man's thigh. So taking down wild boars or wolves would probably be no problem at all. Trading one Tinyuan note for self-protection and enough to eat was well worth it. But he still didn't hurry to come out, drawing his bow and knocking an arrow. The arrowhead was aimed at the sickly man's other thigh again. The sickly man reacted incredibly fast. Almost the instant he saw the arrow, he immediately leaped to the side. Unfortunately, with only one leg left, he was a beat too slow. He barely dodged this arrow, but another came with lightning speed and pierced straight through the arm, holding his gun. From the pain, the crude hunting gun flew from his grasp. The young assistant was quick-eyed and nimble-handed, just about to rush up and grab it, when Li Changhai's voice came over. Nobody fucking move. Li Changhai drew the bow to its full extent and slowly stepped out from the shadows. The sickly man suddenly understood. No wonder he hadn't hit him just now. The kid was over 30 meters away, just outside the range of the crude hunting gun. And at 30 meters, his archery was still this accurate. He was no beginner at all, but an expert. He shot the young assistant a vicious glare and thought to himself that today they had really fallen flat. Slowly raising both hands, the sickly man shouted loudly, Brother, we take people's money to help them deal with trouble. We were only doing it for the money. This time we lost, we admit defeat. Li Changhai didn't respond, and suddenly looked at the young assistant. What are you looking at? Huh, your mom. Li Changhai kicked the young assistant in the face, hard enough to make his nose bleed, and spit out a front tooth. Without saying a word, he lowered his head. A vindictive man was too terrifying. If he said one more word, he was afraid they'd all end up dead here. Take out the gunpowder and iron shot, Li Changhai ordered coldly. The sickly man didn't dare say more and immediately took 2 ox horns out of his pocket. Brother, you're young, but your skills are really impressive. How about working with me in the future? Li Changhai said nothing. After taking the items, he picked up the long arrows from the ground and kept backing away while facing them, finally disappearing into the wilderness. Only then did the sickly man let out a long breath. This kid is an old hand. He knew all along that we wanted to double-cross him and deliberately lured us here. Then what do we do? Should we find more men? The young assistant cut in. No wonder he hit you in the mouth. Your mouth is fucking foul. The sickly man was furious. If he wanted to, all 5 of us would have died here. He spared our lives, and you're actually thinking of repaying kindness with betrayal? The young assistant was scolded until tears welled up. I won't talk anymore. My tooth hurts. Hurry up and make a stretcher to carry me back. The sickly man said impatiently. Tell your shopkeeper that not a single cent of the money he promised us can be missing. And this time, he pays the medical bills too. Only after walking more than a dozen, Li Changhai finally stop, lied down on the burlap sack, and gasped for breath. Good thing he had bought this shabao. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have been able to deal with that Chaijio. Don't be fooled by how sickly he looked. When the college entrance exam was reinstated a year later, he actually got into Shangjing. Riding the momentum, he opened a restaurant specializing in hometown specialties and made a fortune. It was only later, when Li Changhai went there for a meal once, that he learned the two were from the same hometown. This person was no simple character. If he hadn't happened to spot the young assistant's figure while eating lunch, He wouldn't have guessed they were planning to rob and kill him. Looks like he'll have to be more careful from now on. By the time he got home, dusk had already fallen. Su Qinglian was in the yard peeling the skin off frogs. And when she saw Li Changhai return, she almost instinctively jumped up and hid to the side. Brother-in-law, why you're back? Am I really that scary? Did you have to move that far away? Li Changhai was a little helpless. No, it's just that someone suddenly came in and startled me. Su Qinglian muttered softly, then looked at the bulging burlap sack. Did you win money gambling? Who said I went to gamble? Li Changhai asked back. No one, it wasn't my sister who said it. Su Qinglian, flustered under his stare, quickly explained. She didn't dare steer the topic toward her sister. If she made her brother-in-law unhappy, he'd beat her again. She was still recovering and couldn't take that kind of abuse anymore. This little sister-in-law was just too simple-minded. One casual question, and she had already sold out her sister. Shaking his head slightly, Li Changhai took out soybean paste, soy sauce, vinegar, and other seasonings. Tonight, let's make braised hashima and sauce. Keep the flavor lighter. Your sister can't eat heavily seasoned food right now. Brother-in-law, you actually won so many things? You must have had great luck today. Su Qinglian covered her little mouth in surprise. I bought them at the commune. What kind of card game has people putting seasonings up as stakes? Li Changhai said with a laugh. Besides these, I bought some other things too, enough for us to eat for quite a while. You can even put your little sister-in-law up as a stake, so why can't they put up seasonings? Su Qinglian was inwardly ranting, then watched as Li Changhai pulled out white flour, pork, white sugar, from his pocket as if by magic. Looking at the bulging sack like it was some kind of treasure chest, Su Qinglian couldn't help swallowing the drool welling up in her mouth. Brother-in-law, if you say you bought this, where did you get the money? This is white flour, this is pork. Even the village chief's family could only eat pork during holidays, and white flour was something ordinary people didn't even dare dream of. Even before her parents fell on hard times, they could only eat pork once a month. Judging by the amount, there had to be 3 to 5 jin, right? I got it by selling ginseng. Li Changhai said this while carrying the things into the kitchen, completely failing to notice that Su Qinglian had already frozen in place. Selling what body? Whose body? Then a wave of fear surged into her heart. Could it really be just like her sister said, that he had sold me off again? Even Su Qingyue, lying in bed, couldn't help sitting up. Though her eyes were full of fear, she still gathered the courage to say, Please spare little sis. She's just a child. If you want to sell someone, sell me instead, as long as you stop going after little sis from now on. Wife, what nonsense are you talking about? You think I got this by trading little sis? Li Changhai felt bitter inside. I heard it all. You said you got it by selling a body. Su Qingyue said with tears in her eyes, biting her lip hard. Other than selling little sis's body, what else could you have sold? I said selling ginseng. I meant selling ginseng. Li Changhai explained, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. I spent the whole day in the mountains yesterday and finally managed to dig up a wild ginseng root. So I immediately went to the commune to sell it today. If I really planned to sell little sis's body, would they give me this many things without even seeing her? I guess that's true. Are you telling the truth? Su Qingyue still didn't quite believe him. Absolutely true, Li Changhai said as he sat down by the bed and took Su Qingyue's little hand in his. It was still rough with calluses from farm work, and his heart ached with pity. Wife, I said I'd change, and I will. If I'm lying to you, may I be struck by lightning. I used to be a real bastard. But from now on, you and our child will be the center of my world. As long as you're well, I'm willing to do anything. Seeing Li Changhai's solemn expression, Su Qingyue didn't dare respond. This man always said one thing and did another. Maybe he was just in a good mood because he had lucked into digging up a wild ginseng root, and once the novelty wore off, he'd go right back to eating, drinking, gambling, and betting. A gambler's words are the least trustworthy. Little sis, bring in the hashima. To give Su Qingyue time to process all this, Li Changhai immediately called out to Su Qinglian while taking out a bowl of white flour. I had planned to come back early and make braised pork for you, but I ran into robbers and got back late. So let's just make do with a pot of dough drop soup for now. I'll make the braised pork tomorrow afternoon. As he spoke, Li Changhai rolled up his sleeves and headed into the kitchen to cook. Little sis, give me a hand. Soon the clanging sounds came from the kitchen, and before long the aroma drifted into Su Qingyue's nose. When did this man learn how to cook? Ever since she married into the family, Li Changhai had never cooked even once, and the key point was that he had always been unbelievably lazy. Now not only had he become hardworking, he even had such superb cooking skills. Was Li Changhai still Li Changhai? If not for his voice and the fact that his knowledge of her past hadn't changed. She would have thought he was like in Jian Haiying Yang, possessed by a soul borrowing another body. Looking at the steaming white dough drop soup, Su Qinglian was almost moved to tears. There was actually minced ginger in the soup, which was the very soul of the dish. And how exactly was this braised hashima made? It smelled even better than the braised hashima she had once eaten at a restaurant in the city. Just because of this one dish and one meal, Su Qinglian's impression of Li Changhai changed a great deal. How could a brother-in-law with such excellent cooking skills possibly be a violent man who beat his wife? Had his temperament changed so drastically because he lost his parents when he was young and was deeply affected by it? Even Su Qinghua looked at Li Changhai in surprise. Since when are your cooking skills this amazing? Even better than the chefs in the city? How could my cooking be bad? In my previous life, when I had just gone to Shangjing and was working as a security guard at a hotel, I used to run to the back kitchen whenever I had free time. So I spent plenty of time around the cooks. Back then, I was practically so close to them that we could have worn the same pair of pants. If I wanted to eat something, wouldn't I have to cook it myself? Over time, my cooking skills naturally improved. But of course he couldn't say that right now, so he could only scratch his head and say with a goofy grin, maybe it's because I suddenly got enlightened, and then I just became good at everything. Very soon, the family of 3 finished off a whole pot of hashima and a whole pot of dough drop soup. Su Qinglian drank 2 big bowls of the soup alone and was finally full, the kind of truly full. That corn gruel could never give, where you feel full at first but get hungry again after just an hour or two. Only Su Qinghua, because she couldn't eat too much and still had to take medicine later, ate just 1 bowl. Afraid she wouldn't be full, Li Changhai specially ladled out mostly dough lumps for her, with very little broth. Clutching his stomach, Li Changhai let out a long sigh of relief. They had always lived in poverty, never having enough to eat or enough to wear. Now that he had suddenly eaten his fill, it all felt a little unreal. Wife, little sis. Today is the beginning of our family's new life. I can promise you that from now on our days will only get better and better, until we become the wealthiest people in the whole village, in all the surrounding villages, in the entire commune, and even in the whole county. I only hope we won't go hungry. Lying on the bed, Su Qinghua turned her head to look at the moon through the branches, and couldn't help feeling a bit hopeful about the future. No worries about food and clothing, family safe and healthy, life peaceful and happy. Having food to eat, clothes to wear, and not being sold off. That's better than anything. Su Qinglian also chimed in repeatedly. Speaking of which, I really did buy you 2 some clothes. Li Changhai snapped his fingers and immediately brought out the 2 outfits. Looking at one of the outfits, Su Qinglian couldn't help exclaiming in surprise. Oh my, this is actually a Dacron padded jacket and pants. Brother-in-law, isn't this too extravagant? Your sister is so pretty. She can't go around wearing nothing but coarse cloth with patches all the time. Li Changhai said with a smile. I bought them according to your measurements, though I don't know whether they'll look good or fit well. Can I try it on? Staring at the clothes without taking her eyes off them, Su Qinglian was practically drooling with desire. Sure, your figure isn't that much different from your sister's. No sooner had Li Changhai nodded than Su Qinglian snatched the clothes and ran back to her room. Very soon, Su Qinglian came out changed. Brother-in-law, does it look good? By the light of the kerosene lamp, one could see an extremely beautiful girl standing there gracefully, very much like a pure and lovely girl next door. They say clothes make the man just as a saddle makes the horse. The ancients truly did not deceive me. Li Changhai was already eager to see Su Qinghua try it on too, but unfortunately his wife wasn't in a very convenient state right now, so they could only wait a few days to talk about it. It really is quite nice, and it fits well too. Li Changhai nodded with great admiration. I might look too thin in it. It fits little sister just right, so why not give it to her instead? Su Qinghua saw the longing on her little sister's face and could only summon the courage to ask. Li Changhai immediately turned to look at Su Qinghua. That one movement alone made Su Qinghua's heart leap into her throat. This man had always been someone whose word was final. Now that she had gone against what he said, wouldn't he hit her again? Brother Changhai, we're here. Just then, the sound of pounding on the door suddenly came from outside. Are you ready? Those few words scared a few drops of pee out of Su Qinglian. What did I say? What did I say? Why else would he let me wear such nice clothes? He really is planning to make me sell myself. It's De Lu and Erlungzi. Li Changhai immediately stood up. Brother-in-law. You. Are you making me sell myself? Su Qinglian held back her tears with all her might. I'm still an untouched young girl. You can't do this to me. Did they give you all this food and clothing? Su Qinghua also asked tensely. Are you planning to trade my sister's chastity for just this little bit of stuff? What are you talking about? They're probably just asking me to go play cards. That's all. Isn't that a bit of a stretch? Li Changhai was almost speechless. How does everything get twisted into selling oneself? I'll send them away. After saying that, Li Changhai immediately opened the courtyard gate. There stood Lungzi and Delu, each carrying a bottle of liquor, saying with a chuckle, Changhai, this is Shadaozi I got from my second uncle's place next door. How about we drink and play cards tonight? I'm not playing cards anymore. I've quit. Li Changhai said with a long face. Haha, look at that face of yours, hanging even longer than Delu's. Lungzi said with a laugh. Is it just because we didn't ask you to play cards last night, and you're holding a grudge? Last night we went over to my eldest uncle's place, and the game didn't come together. Otherwise, how could we forget a great big brother like you? You don't understand? Li Changhai said unhappily. My wife doesn't like me playing cards, so don't come looking for me anymore. Oh my, sister-in-law must have pleased you so well that you don't even like leaving the house anymore. Delu rubbed his hands excitedly and asked with waggling eyebrows. What does doing that feel like? When will us brothers also? Bang! Before he could finish, Li Changhai kicked him more than 3 meters away, the pain making him drop to both knees clutching his stomach, while the Shadaozi in his hand spilled all over the ground. I already warned you yesterday, don't make dirty jokes about my family. Or do you really want me to rip your tongue out? No. Seeing that Li Changhai was truly angry, the two of them were scared out of their wits and hurriedly explained, Fine, if we're not playing, then we're not playing. It really isn't that interesting anyway, so we won't play anymore either. Without paying the two any more attention, Li Changhai directly shut the courtyard gate. Inside the house, the sisters' hearts were both in their throats. Sis, will brother-in-law really not give me away? I'm so scared. Su Qingyue didn't reply. She didn't dare guarantee it either. Li Changhai's temperament was fickle and unpredictable. 1 second, he could be kneeling and apologizing to you, and the next second, he could jump up and start hitting people. He still hasn't come back after all this time, so he must be having a great chat with those two. I was really too naive to actually start looking forward to the future. Following this man, how could there possibly be a future? Better wake up and run as soon as possible. Just as she was thinking this, Li Changhai came back. Su Qingyue was a little surprised. You didn't go play cards? I promised you. I won't go play cards anymore from now on. So how could I go back on my word? Li Changhai sat by the bed and pulled Su Qingyue into his arms. The future I look forward to is a warm home with my wife and children. Not wasting my life at the card table. In this conservative era, even though it was only a not too intimate gesture, it still made Su Qingyue blush. She secretly glanced at Su Qinglian beside them and said with a struggle, What are you doing? Little sister is still here. I'm sleepy. I'm going to bed. Su Qinglian's face turned even redder. She dropped that line and ran back to the next room, burying her head under the blanket, feeling only her heart pounding. How could brother-in-law act like that with my sister right in front of me? How embarrassing. She's my wife, on my bed. I'll do whatever I want. Li Changhai was overbearingly domineering, but he still didn't forget to finish brewing the medicine and have Su Qingyue drink it before going to sleep. That night, Li Changhai pressed tightly against Su Qingyue from behind, and all through the night his sleep-talking was full of apology and longing for Su Qingyue. Qingyue, my wife, I love you so much. I can't live without you. Don't leave me. Wife, do you know how much I miss you? You are my only weakness. I will definitely treat you well, and I will protect you. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll listen to you in everything. Listening silently to these sweet words, Su Qingyue was a little dumbfounded. Sleep talk generally doesn't lie. It's all spoken from the body's subconscious. But after beating and cursing her every day, how could he suddenly start treating her well? Was it because last night he saw that she was going to hang herself? A temporary expedient for the sake of the Li family's only flesh and blood? After the child is born, will he go back to beating and cursing her like before? Half awake and half asleep, Su Qingyue also fell asleep. That night, Su Qingyue slept very soundly, unlike before when she was always jolted awake in fear. At the first light of dawn, Su Qingyue turned over unconsciously, then was startled awake. She remembered that in the past, if she disturbed Li Changhai while sleeping, he would get up and beat and kick her. This time, won't I make him angry? The space beside her was empty. Where was he? Only then did she hear clattering sounds coming from the kitchen, followed by the sound of stir-frying. It smelled so good. Even Su Qinglian was dazed by the aroma. Rubbing her eyes, she went into the kitchen wearing only a thin outer garment. Brother-in-law, what are you making? It smells so good. I rolled handmade noodles and made shredded pork noodles. While Li Changhai was speaking, he had already put the noodles into the pot, where oil droplets floated on top, and it was full of fatty meat, making Su Qingyue and Su Qinglian almost drool again. As Li Changhai turned around, he accidentally bumped into Su Qinglian. In those days, things like bras still weren't widespread, and besides, they were too poor. Having clothes to wear was already good enough. Who would add another layer underneath? So, it was very big and very soft. Su Qinglian immediately took a few steps back and instantly sobered up, her little face flushing red at a visible speed. Child, it's so cold out. Don't you know to put on a few more layers? Li Changhai, with skin as thick as ever, broke the awkwardness as if nothing had happened. Hurry up and get dressed, wash your face, and eat. Oh. Su Qinglian nodded belatedly, then turned and jogged out of the kitchen. Very soon, a steaming bowl of shredded pork noodles was placed in front of Su Qinghue. A smile spread across Su Qinglian's face. Sis, eat up, it's so fragrant. Have you eaten enough? Looking at Su Qinglian's little mouth, shiny with oil, Su Qinghue couldn't help but smile too. I ate a big bowl. Brother-in-law is really good at this. Su Qinglian nodded repeatedly, then lowered her voice and said, Sis, maybe brother-in-law really has changed for the better. That's hard for anyone to say. If a few full meals could dispel fear and hatred, then the world would have been at peace long ago. Su Qinghue said nothing and just kept eating. In a bit, I'll take the money over to old Lu, and then I'll head into the mountains. Li Changhai said from the side, I'll probably be back around dusk again. Then you must be careful, brother-in-law. It's obvious the weather is getting colder day by day. Wolves and black bears that can't find food may come out of the deep mountains. Su Qinglian immediately added, I met an old hunter. If you have any questions about hunting, he can basically offer advice on how to solve it. Li Changhai nodded. Also, lately you shouldn't go work in the fields to earn work points either. I'll let the village chief know. All right, I'll stay home and look after my sister. Bang bang bang. As they were talking, someone knocked on the door again. It was eldest brother Li Changshan. This time Li Changshan came alone, carrying 2 tails of meat in his hand, and a jean of bean flour, which made Li Changhai somewhat disgusted. Big brother, are you here to arrange a match too? What match? I'm here on behalf of your sister-in-law to apologize to your younger sibling's wife. Li Changshan said with a bitter smile, that crazy woman. I beat her so badly yesterday that she couldn't get out of bed. She dared make our old Li family cut off its descendants. I was even planning to divorce her. Her nephew brought this as a betrothal gift, and now it's being used as an apology gift. Take it, and let your younger sibling's wife nourish herself. Big brother, not to speak bluntly, but if my sister-in-law can't sit still, she might as well go earn a few more work points with the team. Why meddle in other people's business? Li Changhai said impolitely. If she weren't my sister-in-law, I would have crippled her long ago. Don't worry. Once that woman gets better, I'll have her come serve your younger sibling's wife. Li Changshan kept nodding. No matter what, the child in your younger sibling's wife's belly must be born safely and healthily. From now on, I'll help earn my younger sibling's in-laws work points. No need. I'll let the village chief know, and for now I won't go earn work points. We're not short of this little bit of work points anyway. Li Changhai waved his hand repeatedly. Also, take the stuff back. I have meat at home. Won it back last night. Li Changshan asked suspiciously. In gambling, 9 times out of 10 there's cheating. Did the other side get caught using trickery? I dug up some mountain goods and sold them at the commune yesterday and traded for it. Li Changhai had no intention of telling Li Changshan about digging up ginseng. Big brother was different from him. Li Changshan was an honest man, not good at socializing. If he accidentally let it slip to someone, being sentenced was entirely possible. This matter was limited to the 3 of them knowing. How much money can that earn? Earning work points is still more reliable and stable. Li Changshan did not quite approve of Li Changhai's way of doing things. As he spoke, he took out his hand-rolled tobacco and was about to smoke one, but after glancing at Su Qinghue, he silently put the tobacco away. Our production team is getting ready to open up new land. Will you go with little sister? No, let's talk about that later. After chatting for a few more sentences, Li Changshan went back. Li Changhai also took a Tinyuan note to old Lu's house. The family was just about to go work for the production team, and they were quite startled to see Li Changhai. Old Lu's daughter-in-law hurriedly said as well, Brotherly, my old man has already given you all the medicinal herbs he had. At his age, he can't go up the mountain to gather herbs anymore. Why don't you go check the commune? Misunderstanding, I'm not here looking for medicine. Li Changhai laughed heartily and said, Elder Lu has already prepared the medicine. I'm here to bring Elder Lu some money. You? Several people looked Li Changhai up and down in astonishment. Bring money, they thought. A man who could even sell off his little sister-in-law could actually bring money? The sun hasn't risen in the west, has it? Who's there? Hearing the commotion, old Lu also came out. And when he saw Li Changhai, he immediately asked warmly, "Changhai, is your wife okay now? Thanks to your excellent medical skills, she's already out of danger." As he spoke, Li Changhai pulled out a 10 yuan note. "Elder Lu, I don't know if this is enough, so I just brought this much. If it's not enough, I'll bring you more." A 10 yuan note. Several people were stunned. Their whole family could work themselves to the bone for a day in the team and only earn 1 yuan. It was the first time they had ever seen a bill of such a large denomination. How could this kid, who loafs around living off others all day, come up with such a large bill? Could it be stolen? I dug up some mountain goods in the hills and exchanged them for some money at the commune yesterday. Afraid of being misunderstood, Li Changhai immediately explained, "You're my wife's lifesaver. I can owe anyone money, but I can't owe you, can I?" "You child, then I'll accept it," old Lu said with a smile, patting Li Changhai on the shoulder. "Come, I just brewed a pot of golden grass tea. Let's have a drink together." Oh my, this golden grass is said to make the elder brother drink and the elder sister-in-law smile. It's commonly known as howling and hollering. "Uncle, what you're drinking is the real good stuff." No, while it's still early in the morning, I'll head back into the mountains for another look." Li Changhai waved his hand, picked up the sack, and left. Even though it was only October, the morning temperature in the mountains was just 3 to 5 degrees. Li Changhai also felt a bit of chill, but as the sun rose, after walking for a long time, he was already sweating by now. This time he chose a different path, one that was more rugged. This wild ginseng plant had been the last one he discovered back then, about 30 years old, but because it was the closest to the village, he chose it first. Just like last time, after clearing away the weeds nearby, Li Changhai started working with great enthusiasm. Although this wild ginseng had only grown for 30 years, according to his memory, its rootlets were even more numerous than the 50-year-old one from last time, and denser too. To dig it out intact would definitely be a major job. He could only work carefully and patiently. After more than an hour, he had dug out only 1/5. Seeing that it was almost noon, Li Changhai took out a flatbread made from mixed bean flour and white flour and started eating. Then he took big gulps and finished all the water in his flask before finally letting out a full belch. Back to digging. After another 2+ hours, Li Changhai grew somewhat irritated. Coupled with his dry mouth and parched throat, he paused his work and went to a nearby river to fetch some water and drink. The buzzing sound that reached his ears made Li Changhai shudder, and with delight he saw several black bees by the water. Water-collecting bees. You should know that at this season there was no shortage of water, and it should be around 2 in the afternoon. To encounter water-collecting bees at a time like this, his luck was truly heaven-defying. Water-collecting bees generally collect water very close to their hive, and judging by how the bees returning to the hive were not flying very high, only about 3 meters or so, it meant their hive should be within 300 meters of this place. Wasn't this just delivering itself right into his hands? If he still didn't act now, wouldn't that make him an idiot? He watched as one water-collecting bee, after taking on water, flew off in one direction. Li Changhai immediately jogged after them, crossing a small slope and even tripping and scraping his arm before losing sight of the bee. Seeing that no other water-collecting bees were coming back, Li Changhai had no choice but to search around nearby. As luck would have it, after searching for a full 10+ minutes, he finally found some small yellowish-brown pellets, one end large and the other small. They were bee droppings. These little creatures are especially hygienic. They even go outside the hive to poop, and the larger end points toward the direction of the hive. Li Changhai immediately followed the direction indicated by the droppings and kept moving forward. Luckily, another water-collecting bee showed up just then, and Li Changhai finally found the hive. It was located inside a tree hollow, extremely well hidden, and the honey visible to the naked eye was simply mouth-watering. Wasn't this just a natural nutritional supplement? His wife was in early pregnancy, exactly when she needed extra nutrition. If they ate this honey slowly, it would be enough for 2 or 3 months. Unfortunately, he didn't have any suitable tools on hand right now and could only worry helplessly. Forget it. Now that he already knew the location of the hive, he could just come back tomorrow with the right tools to collect it. The most urgent thing now was to quickly dig up the ginseng. After looking around, Li Changhai followed the route he had taken and returned to the wild mountain ginseng. He kept digging. In less than an hour, he finally dug out the complete wild mountain ginseng. And its appearance was even better than that 50-year-old specimen, so it should sell for a good price. As usual, he packed it up and took out his bow and arrows. planning to try his luck. In case he ran into pheasants again, his wife's chicken soup for today would be taken care of. Following the path he had come by, Li Changhai deliberately made a detour, hoping to look for traces of pheasants as they returned to their roosts. Unfortunately, there were no signs of wild pheasants in the place he had chosen today. And as the sun was about to set and the temperature began to drop, Li Changhai had no choice but to hurry back. No chicken soup tonight. He could only have braised pork instead. But just as he was about to leave the mountain, Li Changhai suddenly heard a faint yu sound, very much like a deer's call. Li Changhai thought for a moment and immediately headed toward the sound. It wasn't far, only a little over 100 meters. Pushing aside the grass, he saw two sitka deer preparing to mount. The stag was tall and powerful, with a pair of long, sharp antlers. No wonder he had heard the sound of something hitting a tree earlier and thought it was a nearby villager chopping wood. So after all that, it was this fellow using the sound of ramming trees to attract the doe to mate. It's starting, they're about to mount. Li Changhai immediately drew his bow to full tension, preparing to make his move against the stag only after the doe became a mother-to-be. Sorry, little doe, your child can live without a father, but my wife has to eat meat. What Li Changhai had never expected, however, was that the stag only needed one thrust, bullseye in one shot, over in a second, and then seemed to collapse to the ground from exhaustion. That fast. It was his first time seeing sitka deer mate, and he was completely dumbfounded. But seeing the stag get back up, Li Changhai had no time for wild thoughts, and immediately released the aimed arrow, hitting the stag right in the neck. Startled, the doe ran off at once. How could the stag have imagined that right after hitting the mark himself, he'd be hit by someone else's perfect shot too? It leaped up and ran in one direction, but after less than a dozen meters, it collapsed to the ground, struggling and unable to get up. Li Changhai walked toward the stag at an unhurried pace. And just to be safe, he put another arrow into its heart. At times like this, male deer are at their most irritable, and to compete for mating rights, they grind their antlers exceptionally sharp. If it really rammed into someone, it would definitely poke a hole right through their body. Only after making sure the stag was truly dead did Li Changhai jog over. This thing was a full 1.5 meters long. The antlers were yellowish-brown, each branch splitting into 4 tines and measuring over 60 centimeters long, with grayish-white tips, incredibly sharp, and overall simply a stunning work of art. But Li Changhai hefted it in his hands. This thing weighed 200 jin. If he carried it back, he'd be exhausted to death halfway there. After looking around, Li Changhai made use of local materials, found a few arm-thick branches, used vines to weave together a sled, then dragged the sitka deer onto it, and pulled the sled home. Not bad. Quite a bountiful harvest. Seeing that it was already dark and Li Changhai still hadn't returned, Su Qinglian glanced toward the mountains from the doorway before coming back and asking worriedly, "Sis, could brother-in-law be in some danger? He's a grown man. What danger could he possibly be in?" Su Qinghua said irritably, "If something really did happen to him, then all the better, we'd be free. But then it'd be just us 2 women, and we'd still have to raise a child in the future. How hard would life be then?" Su Qinglian said conflictedly, "At least with brother-in-law around, we can have a full meal. Once his novelty wears off one day, who knows, he might start hitting people again." Su Qinghua curled her lip. "That man's temper is unpredictable. It's not like you don't know that." True enough. Su Qinglian sat on the chair, one hand propping up her chin as she stared at the courtyard gate, both hoping her brother-in-law would come back and wishing he'd just die outside. This conflicted state of mind left her restless. It wasn't until it was completely dark and Su Qinglian was about to go cook for her sister that she heard noise outside. Then the courtyard gate opened, and Li Changhai came in dragging the sled. "Brother-in-law, did you bring back someone you rescued?" Su Qinglian immediately went up to him, and only after seeing clearly did she cry out in surprise. "Ah, what a huge sitka deer. I ran into this sitka deer on the way, otherwise I could have been back 2 hours earlier." Li Changhai wiped the sweat from his forehead. "I'll go make braised pork first. Little sister, heat up a pot of water. I need to skin the deer tonight, otherwise it'll be troublesome tomorrow." Su Qinglian nodded repeatedly and immediately ran off to boil water. Li Changhai, meanwhile, started making the braised pork. Taking out 2 jin of pork, 1 jin lean and 1 jin fatty, Li Changhai first slowly rendered the fat over low heat in the wok, gradually cooking out the lard so the braised pork wouldn't be so greasy, making it taste better, and the rendered pork scraps could also be saved to use when stir-frying dishes. Right after that, he began stir-frying the lean meat. and after adding scallions and ginger and stir-frying a few times, he could pour in boiling water. At this point, he added star anise, fennel, and soy sauce, then began stewing it for an hour before adding salt. Because he was in a hurry to skin the sika deer, Li Changhai didn't bother caramelizing sugar for color. After all, in the pitch dark, there was no need to pursue the visual appeal of the braised pork. Only after a full hour or more did Li Changhai, by the light of a kerosene lamp, manage to skin the deer completely intact. The sika deer had already grown its winter coat for warmth, dense and thick, with the white spots almost impossible to see. This would be perfect for making his wife a padded coat, and it would definitely be excellent for keeping out the cold. Then he gutted the sika deer and washed it clean, dividing it into several portions, and the braised pork was finally done too. The aroma had long since filled the entire courtyard, making Su Qinglian so hungry that she had gone into the kitchen more than a dozen times before it was finally served on the table. When she picked up a piece and stuffed it into her mouth, her drool finally started flowing. "Brother-in-law, what you made smells so good," Su Qinglian mumbled indistinctly while eating. The fat melted in her mouth. The lean meat was tender and full of flavor. "Oh my, this is the 1970s, damn it, the 1970s. Just tell me, can you handle eating a hearty meal of braised pork this satisfyingly?" Anyway, paired with pancakes made from bean flour mixed with white flour, even Su Qinghua ate to her heart's content. In less than 20 minutes, the three of them polished off 2 jin of braised pork and 10 pancakes. Full. Bang bang bang. Just as Su Qinglian got up and went into the yard planning to walk around and digest her food, pounding on the door rang out, along with a middle-aged man's rough voice. "Open up. Hand our wife over right now." So frightened that Su Qinglian darted back into the house, she said in terror, "Brother-in-law, it's those 2 people from the day before yesterday. They're here to take me, aren't they? Looks like they brought helpers." Li Changhai nodded. Choosing to come at this hour in the pitch dark, they were probably planning to cause a death.